Hey there guys, how's it going? Today we're talking about Breaking Bad episode 11, Confessions, I believe the title of the episode was. And we're going to do a lazy video right now. I don't feel like editing. I'm tired. I got back from the gym. I feel like I snapped my shit up. I actually literally feel like I ripped my trapezius muscle? Is that what it's called? Yeah, I feel like I tore that son of a bitch right off. And by the way, my neighbors think I'm a serial killer. I'll tell you why. I walked in my house from my car as my neighbors were washing their car. I was walking in with this. I got it out of my trunk and walked in my house. And one of my neighbors kind of looked at me for a second. I looked at him and I just kept walking. Anyway, that's for an upcoming video. You trust me, right? Anyway, let's talk about Breaking Bad. By the way, would you guys like some guacamole? Huh? Okay. So Breaking Bad opens up with Hank and Hank's family and Walter and Skyler having a dinner at a Mexican restaurant. And basically, same old thing kind of happens again. But the interesting thing about this was, besides the awkwardness of the dinner, which, by the way, like, hey, let's go have a meeting because you know I'm a meth maker and you're a DEA agent, but let's go to that Mexican restaurant down the street where they have unlimited chips and salsa. You want to go do that? I guess it's better than a coffee shop. Anyway, the interesting thing here is at the end of that conversation, Walt lays a DVD disc down on the table, and he's like, "Here you go." And earlier on in the episode, you see Walt turn on a video camera like he's gonna do a confession, and so Hank goes home to watch the video, and basically, this is where my theory kind of came true. This is what I was speculating since the first episode. I'm gonna pat myself on the back, but maybe it was a little bit obvious. I'm sure probably 80% of you who watched the episode probably noticed it. That was probably going to go that direction. Anyway, finally, Walt basically gives a confession, but he also makes it sound like Hank was the mastermind. Walt basically says, "You know what? I was a weak man. I had cancer. Financial ruin was coming, and I used my chemist skills to make meth. But Hank is the mastermind. He was working with Gus, yeah. So here you go." And so Hank is. Somebody said in the comments last week, Hank right now is between a mineral and a hard place. And I like this because this show, it does what you want it to as a viewer, but it still surprises you. And that's what I like. You know, it's a clever show that gives the viewers what they want, and it doesn't do these bullshit twists and turns because everything makes sense in this show. So I really like where the show is going. And also, I look at things from a realistic standpoint most of the time. But this show right now, where Hank is, the situation that he's stuck in, being a DEA agent and his brother being the #1 meth cook in New Mexico, it's really, how does he even go in there and say this? Like, there's really no evidence that makes him look good in any situation. I don't know. It's just like, if I was Hank right now, I'd be kind of scared. I'd, you know, in all honesty, I'd probably just be like, okay, Walt, you win. Also in this episode, in the beginning of the episode, we picked up where we left off last week, where Jesse is in the confession room with Hank, and Jesse doesn't give up anybody whatsoever. I like Jesse. His loyalties lie thick. But in this episode, I think his loyalties to Walt go out the window. Basically, at the end of the episode, here's Jesse running around Walt's house, pouring gasoline on the ground. And now we know why in the first episode of this second half of the season, Walt's house is in ruins. There's a fence around the thing, and the spray paint on the walls of Walt's house that said Heisenberg, that might be from Jesse, or that might be from the Nazis that are hanging out with Todd. So I'm waiting for that conflict to happen. The Nazis and Todd meet up with Heisenberg at one point. What else is there? So yeah, Jesse. Here's what went down with old Jesse boy. Jesse finally lost his damn mind and grew some balls. Saul Goodman, by the way, I need a dust filter for Hoovervac X3000. That's the code word for you need a new identity, I guess. Anyway, Saul and Walt basically decide, let's get Jesse out of here because he's a liability. It's either... They didn't say it, but I had a feeling, and Jesse had the same feeling, that Walt was probably going to kill him if he didn't just decide to leave town. So at the end of the episode, Jesse's like, okay, I'll leave. How about Alaska? Yeah, Alaska. It's like, what the fuck are you going to do in Alaska, Jesse? Play video games and smoke weed? Sounds like a good time. So at the end of the episode, Jesse's about to take off, and he goes for his cigarettes, or his weed, and he realizes it's gone. And then, you know, it took me a second to click what happened here, but basically, Saul Goodman's security guard, the one who sleeps all the time, basically pickpocketed, is that the word? Did like a pickpocket switch or something, and he came to the conclusion that that's how the ricin got in his cigarettes a few seasons back. So Jesse put 2 and 2 together, and he got pretty pissed off because that kid that almost died because of that, and he came to the conclusion, hey, Walt is an asshole, and he's a liar, and now he's going to pay for the sins he's committed against humanity. So Jesse and Walt are finally going to clash. Jesse obviously wants to kill Walt at this point. But you gotta think of it this way. Jesse, all he had to do was get in that little creepy minivan and take off into the sunset, and he would have been free, long and gone. I don't know. It's kind of like, what would you have done? Would you have went back for revenge, or gotten that creepy minivan and went to Alaska? I don't know. I probably would have went to Alaska, maybe Florida. I'm not quite sure. Also, did you guys know an interesting side note about Jesse, the character of Jesse? The writers actually had said at one point they were going to kill Jesse off, I think in the first or second season of the show, and they said that would have been the biggest mistake they've ever made, and I agree, but so that's Breaking Bad. This week was pretty good, and this show, man, every episode so far in the second half of this, what am I doing? Every episode so far in the second half of the season, it just leaves off in such a high point where you're just like, the anticipation's building. It starts gurgling in the back of your throat, and then you just vomit out Breaking Bad fluids, and then you put it in a cup, save it, put it in like a mason jar, put it in the refrigerator, save it for a little bit later. That's that blonde wig talking down there. That's my Buffalo Bill wig. That's going to be an upcoming video in my top favorite villains of all time video, which I shot yesterday. Yeah, I shot yesterday, and that should be coming on the FlickPick channel, my other channel, my movie channel, if you guys aren't familiar with it. Also, what else is there? I had something else. Oh, by the way, my last video was I took you guys in the gym, and just kind of like an experimentation type thing. So there's that, and I'm trying to think, there's something else. Terminator head. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.